First of all, let's look right here. Let's start right here. Let's look at the title. Let's look at the title alone. Team USA 2028 forecast. Paige Bueckers and the young stars on the rise. Oh, so this is the Paige Bueckers show. Oh, so y'all, when we went over that article, when they were saying that y'all were trying to make this Paige's USA team, look at this here. Team USA forecast, Paige Bueckers and the young stars.
Let's break this down step by step because what's happening here is not small, and it's definitely not accidental. First, look at the title of the podcast episode, Team USA 2028 Forecast, Paige Bueckers and the young stars on the rise. The title alone tells you exactly where the focus is. It doesn't say Team USA Future Leaders or a look at the next generation. It says Paige Bueckers very specifically, followed by young stars, almost as a side note. So right from the start, this becomes the Paige Bueckers show. And when you remember the article that claimed Team USA was being shaped around Paige, this podcast episode fits perfectly into that pattern. Even the graphic they use says it all. Paige Bueckers front and center, with Jackie Young and Angel Reese also shown. But look closely, who's missing? Caitlin Clark. The same Caitlin Clark who broke nearly every WNBA viewership record in 2024. The same player who averaged over 3.2 million viewers per game. The player who almost single-handedly brought the WNBA into mainstream headlines. She isn't just quietly left out. She's erased from the entire conversation about Team USA's future. And the person leading that erasure is Sue Bird. Caitlin needs to open her eyes to what's going on. Sue Bird does not support her the way people assume she does. If anything, Sue is doing the opposite. It's becoming clearer with every episode, every conversation, every graphic, and every subtle comment. Sue Bird is pushing Paige Bueckers as the face of Team USA's next era, even though Caitlin has had a more impactful rookie season than anyone in years. Sue talks about Paige as the leader of the young group, the rising core of Team USA. But if Paige is the leader, shouldn't Caitlin at least be part of the group? Shouldn't her name appear somewhere? Instead, Caitlin isn't in the graphics, she isn't mentioned, and she isn't acknowledged. It's all Paige all the time. That's not an accident. That's a message. And when Sue Bird titles her podcast episode around Paige specifically, she's not just giving an opinion. She's sending a signal. She knows her words influence the whole basketball world. This isn't a subtle choice. It's a deliberate one. Now let's dig deeper. Caitlin Clark wasn't at the USA camp, sure. But guess what? Lots of players weren't there. And Sue didn't frame the episode around who did or didn't attend. She framed it around Paige leading the movement of young players. The entire narrative is designed in a way that Caitlin simply doesn't exist. Even when Cheryl Reeve, the Team USA coach, talks about the roster, she uses normal coaching language, trying out different combinations, testing players, seeing what lineups work. But Sue Bird takes those comments and spins them. She immediately shifts the focus back to Paige's leadership. She shapes public opinion without ever directly saying anything negative about Caitlin. That's a clever tactic. It's a political tactic. And remember, Sue Bird isn't just some retired player with a podcast. She is a huge voice in women's basketball. She's a 4-time Olympic gold medalist. She's married to Megan Rapinoe, another major figure. Her opinions echo across sports media. When she positions Paige as the center of Team USA's future, that idea spreads fast. It becomes the default storyline everywhere. Now let's talk about the part nobody brings up openly, the UConn connection. This matters more than people admit. Sue Bird, UConn Paige Bueckers, UConn Diana Taurasi, UConn Brianna Stewart. UConn, who are the main players who have dismissed or downplayed Caitlin's impact? Those same UConn names. And what about Caitlin Clark? Iowa. Not UConn. Not part of the old system. Not shaped by Gino Arima's program. She built her fame and influence outside the UConn machine. And because she proved you don't need that powerhouse pipeline to become the face of the sport, she's seen as a threat. Not because of her game, not because of her fans, not because of her personality, she's a threat because she changed the hierarchy. We also can't ignore what happened on Sue Bird's podcast just days before this episode. She had guests who spent a lot of time criticizing Caitlin Clark's fanbase, calling them toxic, saying they brought negativity into the league. Sue didn't push back. She didn't clarify anything. She didn't defend the fans who boosted ratings, packed arenas, and helped the league finally achieve mainstream relevance. She let the negativity stand untouched. That silence tells you everything. But then those same players want to use Caitlyn's massive impact to negotiate a better CBA. They want to point to record revenue, sold-out crowds, and skyrocketing viewership. But they don't want to acknowledge that much of that came from Caitlyn. They want the benefits without giving her credit. Now, as for the scrimmages Sue Bird described, even those become part of the story she's building. She talks about the young and turnt group as if they are a unified rising squad, again with Paige at the center. Caitlyn is never included in that group, even though she is arguably the most impactful young player in the entire sport. While Sue celebrates Paige's crew fighting the older veterans in scrimmages, Caitlyn's achievements are nowhere in the conversation. Clark had one of the most successful rookie seasons ever. She was unanimously voted Rookie of the Year. She brought in massive attendance and broke numerous league records. If anyone deserves to be highlighted as a part of Team USA's future, it's Caitlyn. Yet she isn't mentioned. All of this creates one obvious picture. Team USA is being built around Paige Bueckers, and Caitlyn Clark is being pushed aside, maybe to the back seat, or maybe even out of the car completely. This is not about basketball skills alone. It's about relationships, networks, old systems, and long-standing loyalties. UConn protects UConn, and Caitlyn Clark stands outside that circle. Bigger than anyone expected, louder than the old guard wants, and influential in ways they can't control. And that is why the narrative is shifting the way it is. When the scrimmage ended, the older group won the final play and broke the tie. The way Sue Bird talked about it, you could tell the younger players were going to hear about that moment for a long time. Everyone was joking, everyone got along, and the camp seemed competitive and fun. But once you start looking deeper, something becomes very obvious. Caitlyn Clark's name never comes up. Not once. That silence stands out. Sue Bird had no issue inviting guests onto her podcast who criticized Caitlyn Clark and her fans. She allowed people to claim that Caitlyn brought negativity into the league and attracted the wrong kind of supporters. She let those comments pass without defending the player who helped raise WNBA visibility to the highest levels in league history. Then, when Sue made an episode about the future of Team USA, Caitlyn Clark was missing again. The title of the episode highlighted Paige Bueckers, her potential role, and the rise of young players. Paige's name was placed at the front of the conversation on the title and on the graphics. But Caitlyn, the player who had the biggest impact on women's basketball in years, wasn't mentioned at all. This creates a business problem that goes far beyond individual opinions. The WNBA is currently negotiating a new media rights deal, a massive opportunity for the league to grow. Networks have to be convinced that investing in women's basketball is worth real money. And how does the league make that case? They point to the 2024 season, the year Caitlyn Clark arrived. That season saw numbers the WNBA had never experienced. Fever games averaged 1.84 million viewers across all platforms. That average beat many past playoff numbers. Overall WNBA viewership jumped 170% compared to the previous year. Attendance grew by 48%. None of that happened by accident. Those numbers happened because one rookie brought national attention, new fans, and massive excitement. Yet despite that, her name is nowhere in Sue Bird's discussion of the young players pushing the future of Team USA. You can't pretend this is nothing. You have to read between the lines. Caitlyn Clark is not being treated like a priority. Everything Sue Bird and her circle are doing points to a different plan. One that centers Paige Bueckers, someone they know, someone from their network, someone who fits their preferred story about women's basketball. There is a pattern here. A lot of the most powerful voices in women's basketball came from UConn. Sue Bird, Diana Taurasi, Breanna Stewart, and now Paige Bueckers. This group naturally supports each other, and they have every right to. But Caitlyn Clark is outside that circle. She didn't come through UConn. She didn't come through Gino Arima's system. She didn't grow under the traditional path that the sport's older power structure is used to. She built her own fame at Iowa with her own style, audience, and energy. And now she is bigger than all of them. That is the real issue. Her success didn't go through their gate, and because of that, they don't control it. Caitlyn didn't wait for permission. She didn't ask the veterans to approve her game. She climbed to the top because fans connected to her instantly. She plays fast, confident, emotional basketball. She shoots deep threes, takes big risks, and owns the pressure. That's exciting for fans, but uncomfortable for people who want the game played the traditional way. Even when Caitlin broke Pete Maravich's all-time scoring record, a lot of older voices didn't celebrate her. Instead, they criticized how many shots she took or how often she handled the ball. Meanwhile, she filled arenas and smashed TV ratings. That's why this disconnect is happening. Think about the situation Caitlin is in. She can't directly call out Sue Bird. If she does, people will say she is ungrateful or causing conflict. If she defends her fan base, people will say she is being dramatic. If she points out that she is being excluded, the same voices will claim she's demanding special treatment. So she stays quiet. She keeps working and lets her play do the talking. But silence comes with a cost. Sue Bird's podcast reaches a huge audience. When she highlights Paige Bueckers as the face of young Team USA players and leaves Caitlin out, that influences how the public sees things. When graphics show Paige and other young stars but leave out Caitlin, that sends a message about who matters. And when guests criticize Caitlin's fans without any pushback, it creates a culture where disrespecting her becomes normal. Media personalities follow big names. If Sue Bird signals that Caitlin's impact can be minimized, journalists will follow her lead. If Sue centers her coverage around Paige, other outlets will start doing the same. That's how narrative control works. The top voices shape the story, and the rest repeat it. Over the next year, watch how Team USA is promoted. Watch who gets interviews about the future. Watch whose faces appear in the graphics. If Sue Bird has her way, Paige will be everywhere. Not necessarily because she's better or more accomplished, but because she fits the story the old guard wants to tell. But here's the danger. The league could hurt itself by ignoring what fans clearly want. Caitlin Clark became the biggest star not because someone pushed her, but because people felt something when they watched her play. You can't replace that by forcing another player into the spotlight. Fans decide who they care about. Money decides which stars rise. And right now, all the numbers show that Caitlin Clark isn't just the future. She's the present. Sue Bird seems more interested in keeping the power inside the old networks than accepting the new reality. That might feel comfortable to her, but it's risky for the WNBA. Caitlin's appeal is organic. It's real. And it's huge. Trying to push her aside to protect old hierarchies won't work forever. So the real question is simple. How long can the league ignore the player who is actually driving its growth? How long can media voices pretend she's not the centerpiece? And how long until the business numbers force everyone to acknowledge what fans already know? Caitlin Clark isn't waiting for approval. She's already changed everything. No amount of podcast framing or selective storytelling is going to undo that.